she told me one afternoon as she was getting ready for work. "I can't just go back to a comfortable life as if nothing happened." "Are you sure? You don't have to punish yourself forever." "It's not a punishment. It's a way of remembering who I was and who I want to be now." I watched her put on her work uniform, something unthinkable a few months ago when she lived in the luxury condo with Edward. But there was something different in her posture, in the way she moved. She was no longer the broken woman who had arrived crying at my door. She was someone who had found dignity in honest work. Aurora came to visit me that afternoon, as she had done every few days since Angela had returned. "Antonia, there are some very strange rumors going around the neighborhood." "What kind of rumors?" "People are saying that you're not as poor as we all thought. Someone saw Angela leaving a very elegant lawyer's office downtown, and then they saw her paying off all her debts at the bank. People talk a lot, Aurora." "Yes, but they're also saying you got your beach house back and that somehow you managed to solve all of Angela's legal problems. That costs a lot of money, Antonia." Aurora knew me too well to fool her for long. "What do you want to know exactly?" "I want to know if my friend of 40 years has been lying to me about her situation." I poured myself a cup of tea and sat across from her. It was time to be honest with someone else. "Robert left me more than anyone knew, Aurora. Much more." "How much more?" "Enough so that Angela and I never have to worry about money again." Aurora was silent for a moment, processing the information. "And why did you pretend to be poor all these months?" "Because I needed Angela to learn something she couldn't learn any other way." I told her the whole story: Angela's cruel phone call, my plan of silent revenge, the weeks of watching her hit rock bottom, and finally, the revelation in Mr. Peterson's office. "Antonia, that is brilliant and terrible at the same time." "Terrible?" "Yes, because you let your own daughter suffer when you could have helped her immediately. But also brilliant, because I understand why you did it." "You do?" "Yes. Angela needed to learn the value of the things she had lost. If you had simply given her money to solve her problems, she would have learned that there's always someone who will rescue her from the consequences of her bad decisions." "Exactly. But Antonia, didn't it hurt you to see her suffer?" "Every day. Every night I saw her crying. Every morning I saw her get up to go to work, tired and defeated. But I knew that if I rescued her too soon, she wouldn't have learned the full lesson." "And do you think she learned it?" "Look for yourself. Angela knows that she now has access to enough money to live comfortably, but she chose to keep her job. She knows she can move to a better place, but she decided to stay here with me. She knows she doesn't have to worry about the debts, but she's using her own savings to help other women in similar situations." "She's helping other women?" "Yes. She became friends with the ladies she works with and is using some of the money she earned cleaning offices to help a coworker who is having trouble paying for her son's daycare." Aurora smiled. "That's not the Angela who went to Europe." "No, she's not. This Angela understands that money is a tool, not a goal. She understands that dignity comes from work and respect, not from material possessions." That night, when Angela returned from work, she found me reading in the living room. "Mom, I have to tell you something. Today, Mrs. Johnson asked me if I was the daughter of the rich lady from the north side of town." "What did you tell her?" "I said yes, that you have enough money for me not to have to work." "And do you know what she asked me next?" "What?" "She asked me why I was still working. So I explained that it was because I need to prove to myself that I can stand on my own 2 feet. "And what did she say?" She laughed and said, "Honey, that's the difference between being rich and acting rich. Your mom taught you how to be truly rich." Mrs. Johnson is very wise. She is, and she made me understand something important. It's not about the money you have, but about how you use it and how you relate to it. Angela sat down with me on the sofa. "Mom, I want you to know that I've made a decision. I'm going to keep living here with you, but not as a daughter who has come back home to her parents. I want to stay here as a grown woman who chooses to share her life with her mother." "What's the difference?" "The difference is that I'm going to pay my share of the expenses. I'm going to contribute to the upkeep of the house, and I'm going to treat this relationship as a partnership between two independent women who love and respect each other. Angela, you don't need to. Yes, I do, Mom. I need our relationship to be different from what it was before. Before, I was a daughter who took her mother's love and care for granted. Now, I want to be a grown woman who values and takes care of the most important relationship in her life. And your job? I'm going to keep working, but not necessarily cleaning offices forever. I want to go back to school. I want to prepare myself to do something more meaningful with my life, but I want to do it step by step, earning every opportunity. Do you have any idea what you want to study? Yes. I want to study social work. These past few weeks have taught me how many people are going through difficult situations without having anyone to support them. I want to use the resources we have to help other women who are going through what I went through. It was perfect. Angela had not only learned to value what she had, but she had found a way to use her experience for something constructive. And what about Edward? Mr. Peterson told me he was arrested in France for the fraudulent marriage. He's going to be deported soon, but honestly, Mom, I don't care anymore. That part of my life is over. You don't feel any resentment? No. Edward did me a favor without even knowing it. If he hadn't abandoned and betrayed me, I never would have hit rock bottom. And if I had never hit rock bottom, I never would have learned to truly value what I have. That night, for the first time in months, I went to bed completely at peace. My plan had worked perfectly. Angela had not only learned the lessons she needed to learn, but she had emerged from the experience as a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person. Robert would have been so proud. 6 months later, our life had found a new balance that neither of us could have imagined before. Angela finished her social work studies with excellent grades, and I decided to use some of my resources to establish a foundation to help women in situations of domestic violence and financial abandonment. Mom, the letter from the university arrived, Angela said one morning, coming into the kitchen with an envelope in her hands. I was accepted into the master's program. I start next semester. But Mom, I want you to know I'm going to pay for it with my own savings. I've been saving money from my job at the city. The salary isn't high, but she had learned to live with the essentials and to value every dollar she earned. Are you sure? We can easily afford the master's program. I know, but I need to do it on my own. It's part of who I am now. Aurora came to visit that afternoon, as she had done every Friday for the past few months. She had become a confidant to both of us, watching our transformation with fascination. Antonia, I have to confess something, she said, pouring herself a second cup of tea. At first, I thought you were very cruel to Angela. And what do you think now? Now I think you were the wisest mother I've ever known. Look at your daughter. Really look at her. It was true. The Angela who was in the living room studying for her exams was completely different from the one who had left for Europe months ago. This Angela had a serenity that came from within, a confidence that was based on her own achievements, not on material possessions. Did you know I saw Angela at the grocery store yesterday, buying vegetables for a family she's helping through her job? She hadn't told me, and when I asked her why she was using her own money instead of the government budget, she told me that some things can't be measured in official budgets. That night, Angela and I had dinner on the porch, something that had become a tradition. It was our time to talk about the day, plan for the future, and simply enjoy each other's company. Mom, I received a very strange letter today, she said, cutting her salad. From whom? From Edward. My muscles tensed. Edward? He wrote to you? From where? From prison in France. Apparently he was sentenced to 2 years for marriage fraud. In the letter, he says he regrets everything he did and wants to ask for my forgiveness. And how do you feel about it? Honestly, I don't feel anything. No anger, no sadness, no desire for revenge. It's as if that part of my life happened decades ago, not months ago. Are you going to write back? No. Not because I hate him, but because there's nothing to say. That Angela who married him no longer exists. This Angela has nothing to talk to him about. I was impressed by the maturity in her voice. The woman sitting across from me had developed an inner strength that came from hitting rock bottom and getting up on her own. Do you know what this whole experience taught me, Mom? What? That true love isn't the one that tells you what you want to hear. True love is the one that teaches you what you need to learn, even when it hurts. It's a difficult lesson to learn, but it's a necessary one. Edward told me what I wanted to hear. He made me feel special. He convinced me that I deserved a life of luxury without effort. You taught me that true wealth comes from hard work, respect, and genuine relationships. That night, after Angela went to her room to study, I sat on the porch alone, looking at the stars and thinking about Robert. I had promised him I would take care of our daughter, and I finally felt I had fulfilled that promise in the right way. I hadn't taken care of her by giving her money when she needed it. I had taken care of her by teaching her to take care of herself. I hadn't saved her by solving her problems. I had saved her by allowing her to learn to solve them on her own. The next day was Sunday, and we had planned to visit the beach house together for the first time since I had gotten it back. Angela hadn't wanted to go before, saying she needed time to process everything that had happened. "Are you ready?" I asked her as we got into the truck. "I think so." The trip was silent, but comfortable. When we arrived, Angela stood for a moment in the truck, looking at the house where we had spent so many family summers. "It looks exactly the same," she said finally. "Some things don't change, but others do. I am not the same person who sold this house." We went in together. The house was clean and tidy, exactly as Robert and I had kept it for years. Angela walked through each room, touching the furniture and looking at the family photos that hung on the walls. "Mom, I want to apologize." "You already apologized, honey." "No. I want to apologize specifically for this house, not just for selling it, but for reducing all our family memories to a commercial transaction. It's forgiven. This house represents 40 years of family summers, of birthdays, of Christmases. Dad built that porch with his own hands. You planted that garden. I learned to swim at that beach, and I turned it all into money to fund the adventure of a worthless man." She sat on the sofa where Robert used to read on Sunday mornings. "Do you know what hurts me the most?" "What?" "That when I sold it, I didn't feel anything. It was just another property. Now, being here again, I can feel Dad in every corner. I can hear his laughter, smell his morning coffee, see his reading glasses on the table. He is here, Angela. He has always been here." "I know. And I also know that he is proud of how you handled all of this." We spent the whole day at the house, cooking together, cleaning, and fixing small details. It was like a ritual of reconnection, not just with the place, but with the values that place represented. When the sun began to set, we sat on the porch Robert had built, looking at the ocean. "Mom, I have a proposal." "What is it?" "I want us to turn this house into a temporary shelter for women who are leaving situations of domestic violence, a place where they can stay while they rebuild their lives." It was the perfect proposal. Robert would have loved the idea that his beach house would serve to help other families. "I think that's a beautiful idea, honey. We can use some of the foundation's resources to maintain it, and I can oversee the program through my job." "Are you sure you want to turn our family sanctuary into that, Mom?" "The best sanctuaries are the ones that are shared. Dad always said that a house isn't truly a home until it opens its doors to other people who need love." He was right. Robert had always been generous with our home, inviting relatives, friends, and neighbors who needed a place to stay. We returned home that night with a new project and a completely renewed relationship. We were no longer mother and daughter united by obligation or need. We were two women who had consciously chosen to build a life together based on love, respect, and a common purpose. That night, before falling asleep, I spoke to Robert in silence. "We did it, my love. Our daughter finally understood what truly matters." And for the first time since his death, I felt he answered me. "I always knew you would. You're both stronger than you think." Justice had arrived not as revenge, but as education, not as punishment, but as transformation. And in the end, we had both gained something much more valuable than money. We had gained an authentic relationship built on a solid foundation that no future crisis could destroy. Did you like my story, and which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story with love and respect.